Hey, welcome back to another episode of the She's Making an Impact podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Ngom. Today, we're going to help you save some money and hopefully a lot of money. And we're talking about taxes, and don't let your eyes glaze over because we keep this interview really fun, upbeat, and to the point. Not super like numbers, but it's the things you need to know so you can save a lot of money come tax time. So I brought in Chika Obih. She is a CPA, business owner, and tax strategist. So her whole thing is how can we help you save money on your taxes? She creates customized tax strategy plans in a day. And she's built, multiple six-figure businesses, helping entrepreneurs save six figures on their taxes. So we got some good stuff to talk about today. So we're going to dive on in. Hey, Chika, welcome to the show.
Hey, Rachel. So glad to be here.
So happy you're here. So why don't we start off? Just tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Yeah, for sure. So I am Chika Obih, and I am a CPA, certified public accountant, and tax strategist. So what I do is I provide tax strategy plans to service-based business owners. I mostly work with women, and with the tax strategy plan, it's a step-by-step layout for different strategies to incorporate into your business that helps you save 5 or even 6 figures in taxes each year. And so with this plan, it allows you to take it away and work with your accountant or work with your team to implement the plan. And from the clients that I've worked with, and we do it in the form of a VIP day. So it's all done in a day. And from the clients that I've worked with so far, on average, we've saved them $75,000 in taxes. So it's a pretty big deal for sure. And I love just seeing their faces after we've worked together. Like, what? I was overpaying this much? So
yeah. I love this conversation. I think it's so important because you hear a lot of people in the online space of like, I made $1 million, but you don't know how much they actually took home. You don't know how much they spent in taxes. If they have a tax plan, you don't know how much they spent on their team or Facebook ads or all the other crap. And so they could actually be in the red and owe in the IRS a ton of money, but they're saying I made $1 million. So you think like they got their crap together, but they might not.
Exactly. And that's all we see online, right?
Yeah.
How to make 6 figures, how to make 7 figures. But the question is, how much of that are you actually keeping? And you're right. No one really divulges that info, but
I think we should. Not like I made $1 million, but this is how much I actually like kept and took home. That's how much I gave to the IRS. Then people can actually see like, oh, if you make $1 million, that doesn't mean that you keep $1 million. That means you might keep like 30%, 20%. You never know.
Exactly. Like that's going to be a huge tax bill, but what do you do? How do you figure out how to keep as much of it in your bank account, in your pockets, as opposed to giving it back to Uncle Sam? So
I love it. And I'll actually share a story. I shared this before on the podcast, but it's been a couple of years of, I had my first business was in the fitness space, and I went from earning $20,000 a year to $80,000 a year, within 1 year. And I was what, like 25 or 26, and I was clueless about everything business. Like I have my master's in social work. I didn't know anything. So then paid taxes on what I earned the previous year and ended up with a $12,000 tax bill that came. And I was like, oh crap. Was not ready for that. And then that was like this whole thing of like stress of, oh my goodness, because I didn't know what, I didn't have you or like an accountant or a bookkeeper to help me. And it was one of those things of like the end of the year, I'm going to pull out this, like all these receipts and go through it. And I didn't have a strategy behind how to actually save money on taxes. So I think we have some people in our audience that might be like kind of where I was, or it's very much like head in the sand. I'm just going to focus on making money, not necessarily like Uncle Sam's going to take part of that. I don't want to worry about that. So how can we get started looking at, tax saving plan? What are some of the first things we should do?
Yeah, no, good question. And you're right. I mean, it people come to me in that first year in which they went from not owing anything or perhaps always getting a tax refund. And then that first year where, their income has increased so substantially,
Yep.
now they have that 5-figure or 6-figure tax bill.
And they weren't ready for it. It
right,
was like,
they
oh
weren't
crap.
ready. That's the point in which they seek out an accountant.
Yep.
And at that point is when it's like, okay, this is what happened. This is what could have happened if you were ready for it. Now that we're working together, these are the things you need to do. And, I think, your audience, I believe, we're mostly entrepreneurs, correct?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Oh, okay. So as entrepreneurs, we're not getting a W-2. Where taxes are being withheld with
Yep.
each paycheck.
Yep.
So it's up to us to make sure that we're making the quarterly tax payments to the IRS.
Yep.
A lot of times folks don't even know, one, that they have to make quarterly tax payments. What is a quarterly tax payment?
Yeah.
And then for two, they don't know, well, how much do I pay in?
Yep.
And so those are the two things that is going to prevent you from, come tax filing time, from seeing for the first time ever the fact that you owe 12,000, 20,000, 30,000, and not having that money available to pay, right?
Yep.
So that's what is going to prevent. It's going to prevent those surprises. You're going to be prepared, and not just to pay the amount, but during the year, taking certain action so that you can reduce that amount come tax time. So yes, I think the key is, so a lot of us we're creatives, or we're in marketing, we're content writers. Numbers and taxes is not what we do.
It's painful for a lot of us. Like when I used to do my own taxes, I was like, how can I make this fun? So I'd sit at the table, I'd have a glass of wine, I'd have friends on in the background while I was doing it. I was like, this makes it more fun.
I love that. I love that. And it's so great that you incorporate, social and wine. Gotta
Yep.
have wine. I love that. And even if a person they don't even want to look at it. I mean, I would say, if you're an entrepreneur and being successful, growing your business, scaling your business is your goal, have an accountant. It's an investment, because, and I tell clients, you don't know what you don't know.
Yep.
And tax law changes every year. We have a new president, so it's gonna change even more drastically. We just went through, the panini, and all of that, and all the tax changes that came through with that. So you're not staying abreast on tax law. Let
No.
your do that, right?
Yeah.
We accountants, we have to go through continuing education, so we know what's up.
Yep.
So have somebody that you feel confident about, you feel like you can trust, you can have conversations with, and let that person, do their thing on your behalf.
Where do we find a good accountant that's up to date with like an online business? Because it's very different.
Yes, so that's a great question. So first of all, so this is a very good question. So I would say you want to make sure that the person you work with is credentialed, right? So I'm a CPA, certified public accountant. So you want to go with a CPA because we're licensed in whatever state that we're working in. And so we have to stay abreast of the law. We do continuing education, and that's the way that we keep our license up to date. If we don't do our continuing education, it'll expire, right? So a CPA, you have that confidence that, cool, like they're on top of their game, they're active. You can look us up online, right? I want to hire the CPA. Let me see what I can find with the state board, right, of accountancy. If not a CPA, you can also trust that an EA, an enrolled agent, is also, they also have to do continuing education. They're more aligned with the IRS, right? Enrolled agents are tax focused. So between a CPA, a EA, or even a tax attorney, if they're doing, tax compliance and tax strategy, that's someone else that you can work with. So that's for one. Secondly, you want to have a conversation with this person before you hire them, because you want to see how it feels, right? A lot of accountants, we're introverts. I'm an introvert and
Yeah.
I'm a proud introvert. And sometimes, depending on our style, like talking, it's hard. It can be hard,
It can be a
especially.
really dry topic. And so like as I'm like we're doing this interview, I'm like I got to make sure like we keep our audience like actually with us, because if we get too into like the details, the numbers and stuff, it's really easy for eyes to glaze over and be like
Yeah. Right. So it's like, can you have a conversation, right?
Yeah,
Some accountants, and I've seen this too, clients come to me because their accountants never got back to them via email, never would answer their phone calls. And you got to be careful, because some firms, some accounting firms are volume based, meaning they just have hundreds and thousands of clients. And so being able to talk to everybody is just out of the question.
yep,
And so just feel good about the person. Look up reviews on that person or that company. And if that person isn't even available to have a conversation with you, they don't want to, then that might be a red flag, right?
totally.
So I think those are the basics.
Yeah.
And again, if they're a CPA, if they're a EA, and you let them know, hey, I have employees, or hey, I'm a corporation. Just want to make sure that they specialize in what you have going on.
Yep.
If it's aligned, then yeah, move forward.
Cool. So let's jump into tax saving strategies. So we got an accountant that we're working with. We're paying our quarterly taxes. What are some things we could do to make sure we lower that tax bill?
Yes. So first of all, you want to make sure that every business expense, everything that you are purchasing within your business, that you are using your business account, right? So you have a business debit card, a business credit card. Do not commingle business with personal. That's first and
Mhm.
foremost. And I
Huge.
would hope that we all know that, right?
Yep.
Have that business account, open that business account, and only use that business account for business stuff. Use personal for personal. That's
Yep.
for one.
Yep.
Because what would happen is, um, as the year goes on, it's easy to just forget, like, oh shit, like I purchased this thing with my personal, and it's easy to forget expenses. And so when it's time to do your taxes, you're losing out on tax
Yep.
deductions because you're not claiming expenses throughout the year, right? So an easy solution is just use the bank account. It's all there. Make sure you're using a software such as, there's QuickBooks, FreshBooks, there's Wave accounting. Like, use a software. It makes it so easy because it can sync with your bank account, your credit cards, and you can produce your profit and loss statements, or your income and expense statement, to use that to file your taxes. So that's for one, right? Take all your tax deductions. Don't lose out on tax deductions.
Yep.
And also some of the tax deductions that I see people not or just forgetting is, so the home office
Hmm.
deduction,
Yeah.
right? If you work from home, you can take a tax deduction, and there's a method to do it. But home office deductions, another one is auto deductions, right? If you
Hmm.
use your card within your business, a portion of your car related expenses could be deductible, right? So
Cool.
those are two that I see a lot of people forgetting to incorporate into their taxes.
Okay. So we got the home office, car. What else?
Yeah. So another one is, it depends on your legal formation,
Got
right?
it.
So some people, they'll start their business as a sole proprietorship, which is great. That's fine. And then they'll form an LLC.
Hmm.
Um, and an LLC is great, but an LLC, you might outgrow an LLC. And depending on like your revenue levels, it might make sense to incorporate, to file an S election. And this gets complex, right?
This does. And I actually had our bookkeeper, who's a CPA, on the podcast. So there's 2 episodes I want to mention for our audience to go back to. Episode 50, we talk about like, should you be an LLC? Should you switch to an S Corp? So that's episode 50. And then with Katie Farrell, we also talked about increasing profit during COVID, because she has a big focus on profit and not just making more money. So episode 50 and episode 292.
Oh, wow.
A lot of podcasts.
That's a lot. I love that. Yes. So S election, that's a conversation with your accountant, because that is complex. And if indeed you are, you form that S corporation, what comes with that is now you have to put yourself on payroll as the owner of that S corporation. And so again, payroll is tricky. But the problem with payroll is the IRS does not play. So if you forget to pay yourself, if you're not filing payroll tax returns and making those payments, those penalties are in the thousands per month. So you don't want to play around with it. Do it the right way. Have an accountant, a CPA or an EA on your side who can take care of that for you and making sure that you're in compliance.
Awesome. Okay. So we got the accountant, we got house deduction, car deduction, potentially switching to LLC S Corp. What else could we be doing?
Yeah. So there's other things, I mentioned payroll, right? Payroll for yourself, but I would hope that, if your business is growing, you're 6 figures, you're 7 figures, you're not in business by yourself, right? You have help, you have a team. And so if you're used to paying contractors, there is benefit to hiring employees. And, with COVID, for example, there are so many payroll related tax credits, both with federal and depending on what state you're in. And so those tax credits were like up to, I think the employee retention tax credit, which came about with COVID, that's up to $33,000 in tax credits per employee, right?
What?
But if you only have contractors and you're paying contractors $50K, $75K, right? Those credits are not available to you. So the employee versus contractor, that's another tax strategy of just switching them over to employees. So yeah.
That's a big one.
It's a huge one. And I think people get caught up in the mindset that it costs more to hire someone as an employee versus a contractor.
Right.
And that's true, right? As an employee, you're dealing with payroll taxes, employee benefits, the payroll company that you're going to be working with, right? It's true, it costs more, but what are the benefits? The tax benefits that I mentioned, all those extra costs, are tax deductible, and the commitment level of your team. Imagine, with an employee, they're only working for you.
Right.
So they're invested in your company. It becomes our company. It becomes our vision. That's how invested they are versus with a contractor. They probably have, at least a few other companies that they're working with. So they can't focus their full attention helping you. And you probably notice that if if with your contractors versus with your employees. So that's a benefit that can take your company further.
Yep. What about, we're at the end of the year right now as we're recording, November 18th. So what are some things we can do towards the end of the year to make sure we're maximizing our savings?
Yeah. So I know end of the year, and this is a great time to look at your books, look at your numbers, right? So carve out some time, set out some time to make sure everything is correct, everything is included. If you have not, if you have not completed your bookkeeping and you have all these receipts, please, before the end of this month, go ahead and get that done, because you want to be able to review
Right.
your financials, your profit and loss statement, or your income statement, or your spreadsheet, whatever you're using. You want to be able to review that from January up until now. See how much money has come in. See what type of expenses you have incurred and how much you have incurred. See what that bottom line is looking like. What are your profits through November? If your profits are higher than if they're high, that's gonna equate to, a high taxable income, which
Right.
will then equate to a high taxes. So what can you do? Hey, if you've been thinking of purchasing computers or equipment, or even hiring that I don't know, that marketing assistant, right? Like, this could be the time to put down money on that investment
Mm-hmm.
before the end of the year to reduce your profits, therefore reducing your potential taxes
Yep.
that you would have to pay. So I think that's huge. People wait until, oh, they have more time, right? Which is usually like after the holidays.
Yeah.
But at that time, it's too late. It's too
Yeah.
late. The year is over. So
Yeah. So like, are there any softwares that you could pay in full? Maybe we've done that in the past where like we use ClickFunnels or Kajabi and we're like, hey, can we pay in full for the year in December? And then I have actually paid some of our contractors like 3 months in advance. I'm like, hey, can I pay you
yeah,
for the next 3 months?
yes, definitely
She was like,
prepaying.
sure.
That's for sure. Prepaying rent, right? If you have an office space, prepaying your rent, like you mentioned, instead of monthly payments to these softwares, go ahead, pay in full. So again, you have to know your numbers. You have to look at your
Yes.
numbers to see what you can do, what's available. And I think that's the first step that a lot of people tend to, they don't want to look at it. They're like, "Ugh, I don't know, I'm scared." But
Have to
it's like,
look at it.
you have,
Have
that's the
to.
first step to be able
Have
to take
to.
action.
What about like an investment strategy as a part of tax savings, like having a Sep IRA or something like that?
Yeah, that's another strategy, right? Retirement savings. So with the Sep Ira is a tax deductible retirement vehicle. So Sep Ira or a solo 401k. And with those, I recommend that folks work with a financial advisor,
Mhm.
just in terms of what types of stocks and ETFs and things to actually invest in
Mhm.
to grow your money within your retirement accounts. But otherwise, again, if profits are high, consider, and you already have all the equipment and you've paid your people and there's no other expenses, then go ahead and contribute to your retirement. And with the Sep IRA, I believe, so you can contribute over, and the amount changes each year, but it's at least 56,000
Yep.
um, max. And of course it depends on certain things, but if you're working with that much profit, boom, you can
Do it.
put that into
Yeah.
your retirement and let your money work for you.
Multiply it. Yeah. I'm like a huge, huge, huge believer in like, yes, you want to invest in your business and you want to take out some of that profit and invest it in other things so you can multiply it over here too. And so
Exactly.
creating other avenues of income stream. So like we use our business here as a money machine, and then we're taking the money, we're investing into, our Roth IRA, our Sep IRA, all those things, and different businesses in Senegal that my husband has started as well.
Yeah, because I like to say that my business is my baby.
Right.
But there's more to life than my business, right?
Yep.
Like I have a goal of being a homeowner one day, right? So taking some of those profits and making sure that I'm, putting money away for a down payment, down the line. The same thing with retirement. If I want to retire at a certain age, but I need a certain amount in my retirement, making sure that I'm aligned with hitting that goal at that date, right?
Yep.
So I think it's we got to know our vision, we got to know our why,
Yep.
and then work backwards to make sure that we are hitting those things each and every year, right? Because business is just one aspect.
Yep. Absolutely. Anything I missed?
Anything you missed related to
Yeah,
taxes?
like the savings, tax savings, anything we missed that we could add.
Yeah, I mean, there's
I feel
there's
like this could be like a 5-hour conversation because I know you do like your deep dive VIP days of like, we have all these things, but I want to give our audience just like the top 5 things they could do to reduce their tax bill.
Yeah, well, for one, so another thing, and I feel like everybody owes this to themselves. So again, if you have been avoiding hiring, and I know we talked about this, but hiring an accountant, a CPA, an EA, let this be your year. Let 2022 be the year that you shift that mindset and you look at it as an investment, because yes, you're going to be paying this person to work with you, but I promise you that the return on your investment will be so worth it, right?
Yep.
And not just money wise, but the peace of mind that you'll get knowing that someone is taking care of your numbers.
Yeah.
You don't have to feel frustrated or stressed out just thinking about it,
Yep.
right? If you know that that's you and that's how you tend to operate when it comes to numbers, take that off your hands, delegate it, right?
Yep.
So that's another strategy that will pay off. So yeah.
For sure. Yeah, that's one thing that we did. We hired my student, Katie Farrow. She's our bookkeeper now, and she gives me like our profit and loss statement twice a month. So I'm looking at it like the beginning of the month, midway through the month of like, all right, where are we at? What's working? What can we do? And it's so nice because I used to do it all myself, literally manually every single day. I'd look at how much did we make and then how much did we spend? And I'm like, oh, I don't have to do that anymore. She's doing it all for me.
Yeah. Because Rachel, how did that make you feel when you were doing it each day?
I like being in control and I like seeing what's happening, but it also like we have so many different income streams in our business, and like the number of sales, the volume just became overwhelming. And I was like, I can't handle this myself. It's taking me so much time every day to actually go through it and do it myself. So having her take over and knowing that I can still see the same data, it's definitely a huge relief.
Yeah, a huge relief, a time saver,
Yeah.
your energy level, like it's a lot. And like you said, the final spreadsheet or
Yep.
report is done and it's ready for you to look at and to make decisions,
Yep. Especially now, like that we're an S Corp and they're doing payroll and all that stuff, and I don't have to worry about it. I'm like, sure, thank you for taking care of it.
It's a lot. It's so much. So yeah, if anything, you guys gift that to yourself, right?
Yep.
Hiring a bookkeeper and hiring a tax professional to just handle your numbers.
Yep, for sure. What's a book recommendation you can give our students that will help them with some of this?
Ew, with the tax stuff. So that's
Either
a
taxes, money, money mindset to go with it. Anything that stands out to you of like, ooh, this has like really impacted me and I want to share it.
okay. So so I just actually picked up this book by Nidra Glover Tawab. So I follow her on Instagram, and so she's a therapist and author, and so her book, well, her main thing is all about setting boundaries. And I don't care what industry you're in, whether you're in marketing, you're in finances. Her book is Set Boundaries, Find Peace.
Hmm.
And as an entrepreneur, I feel like boundaries is
Hmm.
our key to
Yes.
feeling free and without guilt, right? Like saying no
Yep.
without guilt and not feeling like we have to do this, say this, like not feeling obligated. And even with deciding to hire an accountant, hire a tax professional, I feel like people hold on you mentioned this, the control, right? Oh, I got it. I'll do it. I've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
Let me hold on to this. But what if, one of your boundaries is being able to not work on the weekends, or being able to call it a day at 5 p.m., right? But no, because you're spending hours each day looking at your numbers, right?
Yep.
And that takes up time, and not just time, but your energy is different once you're done, right? Like, being able to serve your clients in that fun, upbeat way, maybe that has dimmed because you're doing the most with stuff that you don't even enjoy doing, right?
Yep.
So I think all of us owe it to ourselves as entrepreneurs to learn how to not just set boundaries, but to honor our boundaries. And so this is something that I've been preaching upon, and I'm definitely not an expert in this, because I let go sometimes and I forget, right? Because I am human and I do want to help people. But sometimes when it's at the expense of your energy and your peace, it's not a good look.
Nope. No. So what's the name of the book again?
Yeah, so it's Set Boundaries, Find Peace by Nidra Glover Tawwab.
Got it. Okay. And what does it mean to you to make an impact?
Yeah, so this was a good question. For setting an impact, I mean, I believe that it doesn't have to be anything big. Setting an impact does not have to be anything big. Even if you're just walking down the street, and this has happened to me before. I'm walking down the street, there's a mom, there's a kid, the kid is crying for whatever reason, and I smile and I wave at the kid. They stop crying, and then they wave back. To me, it's like, I've just made an impact on this kid. I don't know what was going on, but by me just
and the mom, the mom's probably
and the mom, right? Me just seeing something like someone in distress and literally just waving and smiling, right? I feel like impact, it's such a loaded word, right? Or we think of it as such a loaded word, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't require money. It doesn't require crazy amounts of time and resources.
Yep.
It's just being the positive person you are, and touching someone else's life. That's all it has to be, right? It doesn't have to be anything big.
I love it. Where can we connect with you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. I'm on Instagram as Chika Obih CPA. You can find me. And also, Rachel, I wanted to extend to your audience my quarterly tax calculator.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so we talked about this earlier, and I know that quarterly taxes is the thing that a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't realize that they even have to pay quarterly, or they don't know how much to pay. And so this calculator, I call it a 1-minute quarterly tax calculator. Literally just input your numbers, your profit at the end of the year, let it know that, okay, you're single or you're married or whatever, your filing status, and boom, it'll spit out how much you need to pay. And Q4 2021 deadline is coming up. That's the last quarter. January 15th is that deadline. So make sure that you know exactly how much you need to pay, so that there's no surprises come tax deadline. So you can find that. In fact, I can give that to you, Rachel. It's bit.ly/QTC spreadsheet.
Okay, we'll put it in the show notes too.
Okay. So yeah, so find me on Instagram, and then also download your free quarterly tax calculator and use it.
I love it. Chika, thank you so much for being here today and for adding so much value to our audience. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Rachel, for having me. It's been a pleasure. I loved it. Thank you.